Seneschal Abelard Verserian build, Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader, the Infinite Museion DLC. This build is valid for the version 1.6 and beyond, and it works on unfair difficulty. If it works on unfair, it works on all other difficulties as well. In this case, we got pure tank Abelard that supports the entire team with some amazing new items that came with the last DLC. Let's see the build, let's go. Let's begin from itemization. So for the helmet, you find this helmet extremely early in the game. For the first 3 rounds, wearer cannot receive crits, and it's gonna remain like that till the very end, cause 3 rounds is more than enough to wipe the floor with every single encounter, and Abelard becomes extremely tanky from the get-go. Now for the armor, we want heavy armor on Abelard non-stop. The best in the game by far is Tempestuous Elite Carapace, but there are plenty of good ones you're gonna find along the way until you get Tempestuous, like Smuggler's Armor, then the weaker version of Tempestuous, then there is a heavy Void Suit, there is the Martial Suit, there are those beginner heavy plates, so as you get better and better, you're just gonna switch until you get Tempestuous Elite Carapace. Just make sure that Abelard is always in heavy armor. For the trinkets, I was using Blade's Clone Field and White Signet of the Inquisition, because Abelard usually ends up the turn with 1-2 points remaining, yeah? And this is the way for him to actually cast something good, okay? He doesn't need Persuasion, but Inquisitor's command ability is very useful in combat. For the amulet, I was using Adrenaline Injector. Now, what can we replace for the rings and amulet until we get these 3? Anything that gives toughness, strength, wounds, or some AoE effects for the entire team. Armor, dodge, unyielding beacon, something like that. One very good example of how it's supposed to look like early game is with the Grace of the Oblivious on Abelard, for example. For the gloves, I was using exoskeletal gloves till the very end. Strength, toughness, very simple. For the cape, we were using Malpian Shroud for the temporary wounds. Later on, there will be talents where his damage scales out of temporary wounds, and there are augmetics that double those temporary wounds. So Abelard will deal insane amount of damage per hit, which I'll explain later on, but that's why the Malpian Shroud. Until you get Malpian Shroud, there's plenty of great warrior capes or Vanguard capes in the game. Use those until you get this one. And for the boots, it's Stalwart Boots. You cannot fall prone, and adjacent allies cannot fall prone as well. But until you find these boots, the best one on Abelard are those that reduce action points for charge by -1. You get them extremely early on. Now the weapons. In the second set, we're gonna use Auto Striking Power Sword, because this sword is the ultimate defense in the game. And for the second one, we're gonna use a Bone Shatterer, because this is basically a shotgun pistol. And for the first set, we're gonna use Triumph of Fate to deal damage, and we're gonna use Earthbreaker for crowd control, or should I say for debuffs on enemies. Every hit will remove agility, toughness, and strength from enemies. This is very useful against bosses, because Abelard cannot die when he gets ult. When you get 6 or 7 action points, like Act 3 and beyond, you whack someone, this thing stacks, and when you whack someone, they're gonna get weaker and weaker and weaker, and then you can finish them off with Triumph of Fate that's gonna deal insane amount of damage, because it ignores deflection. Now, what do we get for gear until we get these items? Anything with highest amount of damage and armor penetration with parry is the way to go. And in the second set, you're gonna play with any shotgun, because shotgun can push enemies away, and that's about it. Now for the mace, any mace is useful on Abelard because of a harsh shove, because when you push, you also stun. And literally it's another way to crowd control the field with Abelard. That's about it with itemization. And now we go to leveling, to talents, and to whatnot. So Abelard is a warrior, we're gonna make him a Vanguard, and he becomes an Exemplar. Let's see the warrior. Level 1 should be charged, then we go into the athletics, then we're gonna pick Endure, then we're gonna take Daring Breach, ulti, into Thick Skin, talent. The next talent will be Dueling Mastery, early parry. Then we're gonna take Strength into Sworn Enemy for the first ability. You mark the strongest enemy in every battle with Sworn Enemy and you stick on them. Then we're gonna take Athletics into Toughness, into Better to Die for the Emperor. And then Better to Die for the Emperor is actually one of the best things that you can take early on. Because literally early on is when you will actually lose wounds, because this is immortal Abelard build post half of Act 2 and beyond. So after Better to Die for the Emperor, we're gonna take Carouse and we're gonna take Hardened Scars. After that we take Ulti Daring Breach upgrade number 3. Then we're gonna take Invigorating Hatred into the weapon skill. Then we're taking Taunting Scream into the It Will Not Die for extra wounds. Then we're gonna take Toughness, we take Carouse, then we're gonna take Epicenter of Slaughter into Coercion, into weapon skill, and for the talent, we're gonna take Stentorian Voice, and then ulti upgrade number 1. Now we're gonna transfer to the Vanguard, and this is where Abelard literally becomes immortal. So, Unyielding Beacon into Defensive Stance, and the talent we're gonna take is a Free Grenade from Grenadier. After that, we're taking Enduring Shield for extra parry, then the Unyielding Guard ulti, and then we're gonna take Action Points Power Spike Increase into Toughness, then we take Toughness again, and Beacon of Might. After that, it would be Wall of Rakret into Athletics, and we immediately gonna upgrade Wall of Rakret into Wall of Ferrocrit for AoE benefits, yeah, for the entire team. Then we're gonna take No Heresy, then we're taking Strength into Evasive Maneuvers, into Resilient Beacon. We go with Athletics, Strength, ulti upgrade number 1 into Renitent Beacon, into Carouse, then we take Strength, then it's the Bulwark so you can protect squishes. Abelard acts as a cover. Then we're gonna take Cowering Bulwark, immediate upgrade for the Bulwark. Then we're gonna take Weapon Skill into Carouse, into Taunting Defense, and we finish up with Swift Movements and ulti upgrade number 2. And now the final part where literally Abelard cannot die is when we get with the Exemplar, Tough as Steel. Now he becomes extremely tanky, and it's gonna happen I think around Act 3. After the Tough as Steel, we're gonna take Clenched Teeth into Athletics, into Selfless Resilience. Then we're gonna take Toughness into Doing My Part. After that we're taking Breakthrough. You either gonna use Charge or Breakthrough. You can't use both. When you use Charge, when you use Breakthrough. Charge when enemies are freaking far away. Breakthrough when enemies are close by is better because you can slash more often, you can deal damage more often than Charge that only dashes once and stops, okay? Then we're gonna take Athletics into the Flesh Wounds, into the Unyielding Resolve. After that we're taking Toughness into Disarm. Then we're taking Follow My Lead for some extra ally benefits. Then we're gonna take Weapon Skill into Formidable Distraction. Then we're gonna take Metal Shell for the Ferrous Sanctum. Then we're gonna take Carouse into Relentless, where Abelard overheals non-stop. He's gonna have a lot of wounds, a lot of toughness, a lot of extra wounds, okay, temporary, and he's gonna keep healing out of those, and his damage also scales out of wounds because of the talent, okay? So when he whacks someone, there's gonna be like 200-300 damage, even better when he crits. Then is the action point power spike increase into the defensive stance, into carouse. Then we're taking easy target into awareness. Then we're gonna take protective word into weapon skill, then weapon skill again into medicate. Then these two talents, this is exemplar. We take a flag bearer, the entire team benefits out of flag bearer. Then we're gonna take shearing strikes into offensive follow. Then we're gonna take medicate into ramming speed, into high resistance, because now we gotta cover augmetics as well, yeah. So we need some flat stacks with Phantom Sanctum. Then we're gonna take Force Distraction into Strength and pick Condition into Counterattack Stance. We finish everything off with Action Points Power Spike Increase. And now it's time for the Augmetics. This is how Abelard basically scales. Okay, so the first thing is Optical Insertion. It's Focal Emitter. Any until you get MK2. What does it give? You whack someone, then Abelard shoots him with his red eye and deals extra damage. When you whack someone 5-6 times, this thing deals from like 12 to 25, depends who you hit, alright? Multiply that with 5, 6, 7 strikes, it's extra damage, like you took 2 extra swings at enemy, yeah. Then we're gonna take for the Cortical Insertion, Telemetric Logis Analyzer. You don't care about penalties, by the way. All of these negative effects do not affect Abelard, he doesn't need those stats, yeah. This one is for some extra damage. Then this is the most important one, and this is how Abelard actually scales. But we need to galvanize the spell for Abelard to really hurt, like 500-600 damage per swing. He can do it in the end game like 7-8 times with ult. Multiply that, as like 3,000-4,000 damage out of Abelard alone. Yeah, as a full tank, because this is a full support tank Abelard. Subdermal Compensator. It gives temporary wounds non-stop, but when you use it and when you galvanize, it's gonna use the same amount of your wounds and transfer to temporary, and then you hit. With all of those talents that scale out of temporary wounds, he's gonna be freaking insane. For the Dextral Insertion, we use Chimis Combat Infuser for some toxin. Then we're gonna use Pneumatic Assault Grapple, so you can drag enemies to Abelard, or you can drag Abelard when you hook them with a grapple to bigger enemies. This is basically crowd control, yeah. Also, he takes a hit on everyone once he uses a grapple. And for the legs, we take Inertial Lubricator. Very solid to have because of that oil behind him. You'll see how it works in combat once you start playing Abelard. And now comes the final part, and how do we play Abelard? These would be the skills that he's gonna use along the way. So usually in the early game, you endure, you go with a sword enemy, you charge, you hit an enemy, and you whack. Brace for impact. Mid-game, you do all the same, you just send up the Inquisitor's command from the ring that he's carrying. If you are dogmatic, by the way, you don't receive the ring if you don't play as dogmatic for the main rogue trader. And you're gonna use before you start charging, in the middle of allies, when they're all together in the tactical positioning and whatnot, you're gonna use Wall of Rockcrit, it's gonna become Ferrocrit, and they're gonna receive benefits out of it. Then it's time to charge or to wait for the next turn and then strategize further. For the mega late game, what you basically need to wait is for the ult, for the Daring Breach, and then you can rush with Abelard. Alright, what is also extremely useful, for example in a mid game, it's Taunting Scream. When there's a lot of enemies, when your squishes are in danger, when you combine Wall of Rockcrit into the Taunting Scream, everyone will be safe around Abelard. And of course, do not forget to go with Brace for Impact. If by any chance you have another melee in your team, like Kibela for example, follow my lead with Kibela is extremely useful because she's gonna be freaking insane with this one. Also, once you notice that your squishes are in danger, especially from snipers or something like that, stand with Abelard in front of them and go with Bulwark, Endure, Ferrocrit into Brace for Impact, and everyone will be safe behind Abelard, because he acts as a cover. Full cover. That would be it with Abelard. Again, this version perfectly works on unfair difficulty. I finished my run with this build and I'm extremely satisfied with it. It was very funny to whack enemies with Abelard, especially with a mace, and then to down them and to crowd control everything around them. I hope you'll enjoy the build. It works on 1.6 and beyond. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one.